Charles Islam. Couldn't be more excited. I could not be more excited. I don't love anything that Charles has done from a marketing standpoint. I don't. Charles is a dork. He's shown up with these big glasses on. He changes his hair, right? The big problem on Charles Oliveira is you don't recognize him. I'm going back, of course, but there's a problem in his career. Charles is not new. Charles is a veteran. I haven't fought since I don't know when. I was fighting with Charles. I mean, it's just one of these things. He shows up to the ring looking one way. He goes to the press conference. He looks another way. He never has anything interesting to say. He didn't try to master the language. There was just a many things that were misses that took a slow road. But damn it, if you take the long road, when it works, it works. Fine example, if you guys are old-time fans like me. Chuck Liddell became, and is amongst still to this day, the most recognizable figures in the world for MMA. You saw, you knew. You got the tattoo, you got the handlebar. He used to do this thing with his hands. The Iceman shorts. People were dressing up as Chuck Liddell for Halloween. I've only seen that one other time. It was Rampage. People would put on the chain and be ran for Halloween. They were dressed up as Chuck Liddell, but it was the long road. Chuck played second fiddle. He stood back. There was a period of time where a grown man with a mohawk was weird. It's true. Tito Ortiz was there. It was one of these things. It took a while. Boy, when it came around, Chuck took no shortcuts. Chuck couldn't have done it he did it the hard way. But when it worked, it worked. And I only use the Chuck example because there's many misses with Oliveira along the way that took so long to get here. But boy, is it working. And then you have him with Islam. The single greatest thing Islam has is Ali. And the next single is he has the endorsement of the king as heir apparent to the throne. Charles is coming for both of them. Charles is coming for it all. He is looking to take everything. He is looking to become the greatest ever. I think he's got 8 losses. I believe of those 8 losses, they were all finishes by a matter of fact. He does not. That rules don't apply. That was then. This is now. I mean, I'm into Charles. I got to tell you, I called the guy a dork. I'm into the guy. Big. I'm into him. And I do wonder, when you have a bit of a dud, I know I'm using strong language, but I'm trying to prove a point. I'm not trying to put anybody down. When you have a bit of a dud, and you put him with another dud, they can rise evenly. It's very tough in this sport to create a star. And every time we've had them and we left, and I do mean every time, people began to dance on the grave of Dana White and the UFC, and I mean every time. When Randy Couture left, it is over, and they asked him that. When George St. Pierre left, it is over, and they talked to Dana about this. When Ronda Rousey left, when Brock Lesnar left, all of them. When they are gone, what are you going to do? Here's the thing that people don't understand when they're trying to build stars, and Dana does. I have them right now. I don't need to go search the streets of Cuba. I don't need to go to an Eastern Bloc search with a scout. I don't need to go study tapes coming over here from Asia. I got them right now. But when you have press conferences, this is where these guys are built. 100% where they're built. As much as that drives you crazy and you think it's about the punches and the kick, they're built at the press conferences. If you have a star present, he'll suck all the air out of the room. It's not new. This isn't like a unique thing. Vince McMahon was done. Billionaire team Ted Turner came in, bought all of his writers, bought his cameramen, bought his referees, bought Hulk Hogan. Took them all. Took the next best thing and the next thing after that. Took Hall and Nash. He took them all. He took the Macho Man. Led an opportunity for a young man named Steve Austin to get his attention, which led to an opportunity, because now the stars are gone, for a young man named The Rock to get his attention. Vince already had him. I already had him under contract. Just couldn't get him in front of me. He'd bring him, he'd put him in the press conferences, Hulk Hogan would take all the questions, just by example. You have these stars, you put them on stage, but Conor McGregor's sitting up there. Why'd you bring the rest of the guys in? They sit there and they look like fools. Until you remove Conor and questions start going somewhere else and somebody else starts to rise to the top. But it's very interesting. It's an interesting concept that I bring up because I do not know that Charles versus Islam would be as sought after as it is if they were not on equal footing. Which, even if I'm putting them down and saying that they're not these big marketing stars, I'm trying to tell the story accurately, and because they were on even footing, they're getting equal airtime and they're getting listened to equally. One guy is not sucking the air out of the room and drowning the other guy out. And I'm just observing this. That's all I'm doing. I'm attempting to study it. I'm attempting to form my theory. Now I have a hypothesis. I just laid it out for you. I don't have a theory yet because I don't have my facts. But I think it's something that's very helpful. And Charles Oliveira has taken this in a very interesting direction. I love when guys do this. When you start getting a guy talking about Charles Oliveira is a 3-1 dog, by the way. I mean, he's a 3-1 underdog. It has infuriated him. That is what a competitor is. He is bothered by you, by the bettors. Truly is. And when you get these press conferences, this kind of stuff's fun, right? You get the angles, you get these conference calls, you get these statements starting to be made. You want to talk about, I got to get him to the ground. You want to talk about, he hasn't been deep. You want to talk about, he hasn't been in there with the opponents, and I got a right hand, and I can switch to southpaw. You want to start talking about these things. Charles Oliveira did none of them. He talked about the location, says to get a screw job. I loved it. Charles Oliveira has now done 5, and that's a literal number, interviews, complaining about the fact that he's going to Abu Dhabi. That is interesting to me. And he laid out his case. This is where Islam is huge. This is where he sought out for. This is where the money is. This is where his demographic is. Don't bring up he's from Dagestan. If we're fighting in Abu Dhabi, we're fighting on his home soil. He hasn't earned it. I have. He was not the champion. I was. I want the fight in Brazil. As a matter of fact, there's a date in Brazil in January, and I was lobbying for it, and Islam and his team came in and fought hard to not have to do it and to get it on home soil in Abu Dhabi. Is any of that true? I mean, he's a young man, talking about Islam, but he's a young man from Dagestan who's training in San Jose. Is Oliveira even right? And he was talking about the judges should it go to a decision. But I believe we're going to fly judges over there. I believe you're going to see Saul D'Amato, just by example. You're going to see Patricia Jarman. You're going to see Super Judge Douglas Crosby, just by example. I don't know who the judges are. What I'm saying is we don't, you go to Iowa, we don't grab 3 locals from Iowa. That's not the way that it works. They get brought over and they've got credentials and they've earned their way into main events. I don't even know if Charles's gripe is accurate. It's interesting. He won't let it go. First time he said it, I heard it. Went in one ear and out the next, but I heard it. I heard his point. Second time, third time. He's now said it 5 times. This means something to him. Put a chip on his shoulder. An angry Charles Oliveira is a very interesting proposition. I have seen Charles Oliveira look very good. I believe in Charles Oliveira. This is a very skilled man. I have never seen the Charles Oliveira that Justin Gaethje had to deal with. What was the difference? Half a pound? No. Took his belt. Took his belt. He felt it was unjust. That's what happened. He was mad. And they'll tell you to not fight with emotion, and they'll tell you not to fight angry. And that can sound real good in a broad stroke. But the greats know what make them tick. Greats know themselves well enough to know the position that they have to create, even if fictional. But if you believe it, it becomes true. And Charles Oliveira is angry about the location. That's interesting to me. And should we take anything more from it? I believe I just hit it on the head and we're all done here. I believe it's an anger. It's a chip. I've been disrespected. I'm a 3-1 dog. You took my belt away. F you all. I believe that's what it is. But there's other people that believe that he's laying a foundation should he go to a decision and it be adverse. I wouldn't turn those people away. I think that's all fair game. It's all speculation, right? This is poetry when it comes out of his mouth, and we got to go and interpret it. But it's fun. It's very fun. He's never talked once about I got to keep him on his feet. He's never talked once about I brought in wrestlers and I could defend his takedown. He never talked about once I brought in so-and-so and I'm defending cage work. Talking about I am the champion, 3-1's BS, and I don't want to fight him over here. I should be fighting him in January in Brazil, and the only reason we're doing this is because he out-politicked me behind the scene. You guys got a problem with any of that? Would you rather hear what I just said? Or would you rather hear about he's got to step his foot over here, he's got to get inside, he's got to dig to the body? Come on. Come on. Charles and Islam, equal footing. I know I put them down. I know I said they're both duds. They're not now. But they rose up together, right? A high tide rises all ships. And when you match people that are accordingly, not records, not wins. These guys' records aren't even remotely close, by the way. Islam is as close to undefeated as you could be. I believe is at 16-1. He got a 1 in there somewhere. Charles has lost 8 fights. That's just off the top of my head. He might have lost 10. He might have lost 11. I mean, I'm sharing with you, they're not on equal footing. They're on equal footing in the terms of recognition, of the media, of the masses, of how many headlines can they get, of how many reporters are they calling on an equal day. And they're rising each other up evenly.